Bam, we're live. Not really live, but it's recording.
I like different brands because they have a little bit higher carbs and they don't rely so much on fiber and keep the fat down. And that usually settles way better like that.
Scoot this way a little bit, Corbin.
Am I okay?
Bam, we're live. That's why I said scoot this way a little bit.
All right, today's Coaches and Coffee. We're talking about our goals, what we want to do kind of in the fitness industry as well as our own fitness goals. Chime in, we're going live in like 1 minute, 10:15 on Thursday.
10:15 is when they need to have their phones ready to click on live.
Should I do it this way?
It doesn't matter.
Probably so we all can.
I mean, it's
I guess at the end of the day,
it's
it doesn't
farther
matter.
away though, so you might be able to do it straight up and down.
Let's do it. Let's see.
And bam, we're live. No, I'm just kidding.
Ready?
Ready? Still texting that person?
3, texting, 2, 1.
Bam, we're live.
Bam, we're live. Coaches and Coffee. Talking about goals. Our goals in the fitness industry, our goals with our own fitness. Here we go. Thursday, it's July. It's hot in the club, man. We were just talking about how, is it hot in here?
Or was it just me?
Or should we just take off all of our clothes?
Take off.
No, that was last episode.
Oh, wait, what? Sorry.
Our phones
wrong song.
burnt up the last episode because we were outside by the pool.
No, it's because Mike had his shirt off and it's so hot.
Yeah.
Yep.
We have a
So-
viewer.
Huh?
We have a viewer.
Hey! That's right.
Who's it?
Oh gosh, don't throw the phone.
It's Eric. Eric's a power lifter.
Nice.
Eric's got a little bit of a shoulder thing going on right now.
Mm.
He messaged me this morning. He's one of those hybrid athletes. That's what they're calling him these days. He's a power lifter / wants to be, is a runner.
Mm.
Yep. He does his squat day, deadlift day, and I think you're bench pressing twice a week, Eric? Let me get some feedback. Let me get some comments.
Do you know his numbers?
His numbers? No, Eric, yeah, hit him up. What are your numbers?
Yeah, 1 million.
Eric, what's your squat, dead, and bench?
And body weight. If you
And
don't
body
mind,
weight,
if you
yeah.
don't mind.
Yeah.
And body fat percentage.
Just curious, as somebody that runs
Yeah,
and
comment.
Yeah. Correct. He said correct.
He said correct.
We got some dialogue on there.
Correct
Here we go.
Correct to 1 million pounds.
Scuffy. Hit us with your numbers, Eric. All right, so we're talking about goals today. This is kind of exciting. I feel like I've verbalized these a couple of times, but I think it's always good to kind of put them out in the public. And when people hear your goals, you get support. And I think when I was writing these goals down, when we were talking about this, it made me a little bit nervous too. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta do a little bit
You're gonna get vulnerable here.
Sure, yeah, I gotta look at them all with notepads and stuff like that. So, anyway, it's always good because it. I don't know. I was just listening to somebody on Insta and they talk about reviewing their goals on a weekly basis, and I don't think that I do that enough. Kind of have that North Star and continue to move towards that North Star. And I think a lot of times with fitness, I'm like, oh, there's a race this weekend, or oh, someone's doing this competition, oh, someone's doing this workout, and I just kind of go with the flow and often forget about what my North Star is at the end of the day. You know, so. Eric, squats 400-ish.
Holy shit.
Bench is 295 and deadlift is 455.
At what body weight?
What's your body weight?
And then what's his mile time?
Oh,
That's a
I
strong.
was just trying to get it all as this hybrid.
Does he know? Do you know who Adam Klink is? He's the guy that
I
ran
do,
the 5-minute mile and back squatted 500 pounds.
I know he is.
And
He's
did
with
50 unbroken
BPM,
pull-ups.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, he's at
I
CrossFit
like watching
Krypton.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a pretty. The video's out on YouTube.
Oh,
it's pretty.
super
It's
impressive.
super impressive.
Yeah.
He trained for a long time for that.
That's like Ryan Hall, who's the American record holder in the marathon, who tried to pull. I want to say it was over 400, and then he tried to run a sub 5 minute mile.
Yeah.
And he did it on a dirt track.
There's another
He didn't
guy.
beat the mile,
His
but-
name is Austin Malioli. He's another person. He deadlifted over 600 pounds and then ran a marathon.
On the same day?
in the same day. Actually, I think vice versa. I think he ran the marathon and deadlift
What?
600 pounds. Yeah.
Wow.
I feel like I must
Yeah,
have to do the job.
he's-
So.
Oh yeah.
But I think that
I mean,
that's
I'd
what
rather
he,
need-
I think that's what he
well-
did though, because like the start time for the marathon, that kind of stuff.
Wow.
That was impressive.
He's rolling at 2:10 and his mile is a 9:12.
Okay.
Okay.
So far, down from
So
10 a month ago. So we've already got him to drop.
nice.
Down 10 pounds body weight?
No, down from 10-minute mile.
Oh, okay.
So he's already dropped 45 seconds.
From a month ago. So did he start training for this a month, like this way a month ago?
So I'm coaching him with the run, and
He's already been.
But how long have you
Like,
been coaching him?
We've probably been working together for 6 weeks, maybe.
That's impressive to drop that much. To
Well, he's kind of come from, and Eric, no offense, but he kind of came from not really running much. He's military guy, ran a lot when he was and forgive me if I'm kind of bastardizing this, but
in the armed services.
he's
Yeah.
part-time now.
Yeah.
And
He's a
from what
reserve.
I-
A reserve.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so when he was in it full time, he was running every day and loved it.
Yeah.
So he wants to get back into loving it again. And so enter me and
Enter the Sandman.
enter, yeah. So he's doing like a little bit of walk running, and he's crazy. He likes running in the hottest part of the day.
It's a mental thing. Yeah.
So anywho, who wants to talk about their goals first? Austin, you want to jump in?
Go Austin.
You want me to talk about mine? I think Corbin should talk about his first.
Oh, this could take all day.
Oh boy.
Let's get
Because you have so many.
Yeah.
I had so many. No, honestly, I think it could take all day because my goals change. I mean, they don't change, but they do. I never really set hard dates. It's funny how whenever you really start leaning out or getting in good shape, I love people complimenting me and things saying that they notice differences. That's just awesome, and it drives me to continue to do so. But it's always funny that whenever somebody does start getting in shape, everybody wants to know why, right? And everybody wants to know, are you competing? Are you competing? And I don't mind, like, it doesn't bother me or whatever, but it just makes me laugh. It's just funny, like, no, like, maybe next year, I definitely think I need to put some more quality size on. That's one thing I am looking really, really forward to in the wintertime is I've never done a quality mass, you know what I mean, game.
Yeah.
I've always hit the winter times and I've just not been as good about keeping up with everything. So I'm kind of excited for this winter to put on maybe a good 15 pounds. I understand that I'm going to put a little bit of fat on with it, but trying to do it very marginally. And I'm going to get to eat more food, which is going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as like an actual goal, I don't have like a hard goal right now. I would say
A BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal.
I'd like to keep I fluctuate a little bit depending on, like I said, my diet and what my cardio is doing. But I'd like to consistently stay through the summer under a sub 10% body fat. Realistically, it's not fun to be below 7% and like walk around like just in general, like, you know what I mean? It's not fun to just the way you feel, the amount of food that you have to drop to be that sub is just not fun. So that's one reason why I don't want to compete this year is I really want to enjoy this summer because I didn't last. But I want to enjoy the summer and I want to enjoy it looking good.
Yeah.
Working into the winter time, I would say I do have a goal. I'd say one hard goal I have, but it's not a hard date, is I've always really wanted, my deadlift max is about 540. I'd really, really like to be able to pull over 600, maybe say by like February. I put that goal on the back burner right now because
600?
Yeah.
Dang.
Because as the as you lean out and as you decrease in body weight, your strength typically will stay stagnant, if not even maybe decline a little bit.
You touched the mouse pad, Mike.
And I think a lot of people need to understand that because sometimes that can be disheartening to people. They get really excited and they're really pumped because they first be with you, right? And they're getting stronger. And then they start losing weight. And then maybe after a 6-month period or so, they're still losing weight or something like that. But they're not really seeing that same increase in strength anymore. So I think a lot of people need to understand that with, decrease in weight, a lot of times you're not saying you're going to get like super weak by any means, but me pulling 500 plus at 195 pounds is a little bit more of a struggle than me pulling 500 plus pounds at 208, right?
What's interesting, not to jump in,
No,
but
you're good.
it's almost like for the runner, when I do relative strength, when I'm doing pull-ups and stuff, I feel like, oh, this feels really good when I lose weight.
Oh yeah.
But when I'm doing
gymnastics.
deadlifts or squats or bench press, I'm like, oh man, this is terrible. But if I'm doing push-ups, I'm like, ooh, this is good.
It's funny you say that, because that's almost sometimes how I judge if I need to cut, like if I am leaning out, other than like pictures and body measurements and whatnot. It's funny though, I use the pull-up is a great one, I think, too.
I saw you doing some loaded pull-ups.
I'm trying to get back into doing pull-ups again, because I used to do them a lot. But it's funny, the heavier I am, the way harder, the harder it is to pull yourself up, which is funny because your overall strength is more-ish, if that makes sense, but because you're pulling your own body weight, I can't do as many. So, if I get in there and if I set at 10 strict pull-ups, it's tough for me. I'm like, man, I should probably drop a couple pounds. But, and that can vary week to week because my body weight can fluctuate. I literally can fluctuate, 5 pounds in a week, but a lot of it's, water and things like that of that nature. But
so keep 10% through summer.
Sub 10, a good, I'd like to, I haven't measured myself recently, but
I say this because walking down the steps with Austin, I was like, I think it's good to verbalize these things because you get support from people, like when you put it out in the world, and then we're talking about, we're like getting a little bit vulnerable when we talk about our goals, we're putting it out there in the world, so.
I mean, it's just crazy, like I said, last November, I was 218 pounds. I was pushing size 35, 36 inch pants.
I weighed 224 when I started working here.
But see, I've been here for 6.5 years, and I've had some years where I've been in great shape. And last year, not that I was in like horrible shape by any means, but it wasn't, it wasn't pretty, Corbin.
Yeah.
And
you're always pretty.
It's funny though, dropping a good 20 pounds. Everybody's like, "What are you doing? What is going on?" I'm like, guys, I looked kind of similar to this 2 years ago. Maybe not as lean, but
when I first met you.
Yeah, like
2020.
Yeah, early 2020. Yeah, I was pretty lean and pretty big and pretty, whatever. I don't like talking about myself like that, so that's weird too. But yeah, so it's funny though. You go a certain amount of time and people just get to know you like that, and then they see you change them, and they're like, "Oh."
Yeah.
But
well,
I do also, like I said, I appreciate and I love it. I get guys come up to me all the time saying like, "Dude, what in the hell? Like, you look way different than you did 2-3 months ago." You know what I mean? And
that's your caveman version of walking billboard.
Yeah, and I love, and it just shows you that us as human beings, you truly are capable of anything you put your mind to, and it's depending on what environment. I talk a lot about this with my clients because a lot of my clients struggle, whether it be with them having kids or what their wife is into and what they're not into. Those are less extremes than what I had, but your environment, not that you can't still overcome obstacles in your environment, but what environment you're in makes challenges so much more difficult to try to achieve.
I agree.
You know what I mean? When you're constantly, that's why I try not to surround myself with people that constantly like to go out and eat or constantly like to go out and drink or whatever, because I succumb to peer pressure sometimes, and I can be convinced. I wouldn't say easily.
Corbin the tank.
Yeah, but so your environment, and if that's something you need to slightly change to achieve the goals that you really want to set out, then that's what you really need to do.
I dig it.
And your mindset. It's a lot of people that we train are all very successful business people. Or they wouldn't be able to afford to train. They had to done something in their life to got them to where they were.
Right.
And if they just try to, I know it's not as easy as it sounds when I say this, but if you just try to apply those same principles and which got you to where you were as far as studying, getting your degree, or doing whatever it is, you had some type of routine to make yourself successful in what you do in life, right? So you apply those same principles to, you know, how you want to look or how you want to perform in a run or how you want to perform in a lift, and you will achieve it. Mm-hmm. You will. You just got to be consistent.
It's a different like pillar though, because I feel like for myself, I'm really good at setting fitness goals, mm-hmm. but when it comes to financial, relationship, like those, it's a whole nother pillar. Yeah. I like the way you say that you can apply those same principles to those other things to achieve greatness. For sure. Right? So it's easy for me to set a time frame and work backwards from a race.
Yeah,
I should do that financially too. I should do that with my relationships.
That's why, not all the time for sure, but some like really successful athletes end up being really successful business people because they do have that. They do have that. They take their same, the way they trained, or vice versa. Like so many people that are in the business world do that, and they end up being people that are pretty fit and healthy and good athletes at the things they want to do, like that kind of stuff. Like because they realize that it does interlock. Like the way you do one thing is how you do everything. Mm-hmm.
And if there's one thing I take serious, it's my training. I mean, it's just
training.
There's not a day, and there's nothing. I'm not dogging on anybody that does this. You make it to the gym. I think it's great, regardless of whatever. But there's not one day that I walk into this gym and I'm like, I don't know what I'm training today, or I'm just gonna go by feel, or I'm just gonna, I might go by feel by like what exercises. Like if my low back is taxing me, I might not do a bent over row, or I might not do something like that, but I'm like, this day I am doing a push day. This day I am doing this. Like I always have a plan of attack before I go into the gym. I know what my first few exercises are going to be. I've planned it. I know what my rep ranges are going to be. I know what weights I'm going to be working with. It's not a guessing game, right? I might have to tweak things here and there. I'm not saying that, life shit doesn't happen, but like, I'm not just like, I guess my biceps aren't sore today, but, I haven't trained legs in 2 weeks, but, like, no, I'm doing legs. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So, yeah.
You want me to go or do you want to go?
You can go, Mike.
We'll talk about. So, here are my fitness goals. Kind of bouncing all over. Like, I got some short term, I got some long term. I think it's hard not to talk about the long term if you don't, like, kind of make shorter term goals, but I've got actually a race this weekend. I got a triathlon coming up, and I'd like to do it's a triathlon, it's Olympic distance, and so I want to better my time from last year. I ended up averaging like a 145 in the swim per 100, so I want to get that down to like sub 140. I think I did 19 miles an hour on the bike, and I want to go, I was on the road bike, so I want to go, I'm going to be on my TT bike, so I at least want to go 21, probably 22 miles an hour. And then I went, this is not good for me, but I went like 7:12s for my 10K, and I want to get those more like 6:30s. So I think that would actually get me quite competitive and possibly even podium. Mm-hmm. Got the Chicago Triathlon coming up in the fall, and I want to put out some pretty similar numbers. A little bit faster in the swim, a little bit faster on the bike, a little bit faster on the run, probably like 6:15s on the run. Same distance. I want to get my FTP at that time to 300 watts. Currently it's floating around like 265, and I'm getting on the bike more frequently. So FTP is a 20-minute test on the bike, and it's the average watts during that time. And so I've been doing them on the bikes upstairs. Thanksgiving, I want to go sub 17 minutes in the 5K.
That's a pretty quick 5K, Mike.
Yeah.
While you eat Thanksgiving dinner?
Yeah, at the same time.
The order is like eat after, not before.
Yeah, I gotcha. Eat before, and then that'd be more impressive. Yeah.
I want to, in early 2023, I want to go sub 2 in the 800, actually. So there's
really fast, Mike.
Yeah, I know. I want to kind of.
He is fast and fit.
True story.
Work on some shorter distances over the winter, and kind of. I'll have done a lot of volume in the fall, and then in the winter, work on my strength and work on my pure speed, and then when I pop out in the spring again, kind of ramp up the volume. Just kind of, it's a good cycle, and kind of in the winter I like to get strong, and I tend to put on a little bit of weight with my lifting, and I do a little bit more speed. And then probably fall 2023 PR in my marathon, so go sub 250. So the body comp, Corbin was talking about like body fat percent, and actually my body comp tends to, whenever I'm competing and performing and putting out good numbers, my body comp never really slides rogue, so that's not generally something that but it's always something on the back of my mind, like I never want to see like over 12 on the in body, so I am always looking at that. Long term, I want to be able to continue to go sub 5 minute in the mile, even when I'm up in my 50s. I want to be able to continue to put those things out. In order for me to do that, I have to be strong. And I feel like since I've turned 40 and we've had some calls about like maintaining muscle and eating enough protein and doing stuff like that, like that's what really resonates with me, is being able to do speed work. Being able to do speed work and run fast means that I have to be strong and have to do speed and still have to put some volume into my training. So I'm aerobically fit, but I think that's something that's doable to be able to keep hitting that goal for the next decade. So those are really kind of my, those are my current goals for the future and even long-term future, kind of looking out like a decade from now. So.
Yeah. I guess when we talked about this, I thought more about like my goals as a person, maybe detached from my fitness goals.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about those next.
But I mean, in terms of like fitness goals, I think, it's really easy. And now there's a lot of different, Corbin talked about like his deadlift. Now there's a lot of different things. I would like to be able to snatch 225 and clean and jerk 315.
Clean and jerk.
That would be like, I would be satisfied with that. Pretty close. I'm not far. I'm only 15 pounds off of the snatch, but I got a little bit of work to do on my clean and jerk.
Well, and some things too, like.
But in terms of like fitness goals, that's always the first two that come. Like it's like a lifelong goal.
Poundage on some lifts, like it's crazy how once you start getting into certain like numbers, right? Like on deadlift, like 60 pounds doesn't seem like a lot. Right?
Oh my god!
From 540 to 600, like you're like 60 pounds, like you should be able to like. No, like
well,
that shit gets really like
it took me like 3 years to try to add 15 pounds to my snatch. Like after, but then it came in waves. Like I hit 200, I hit 205, I hit 210.
Oh yeah,
it came in a wave, and now I'm at that roof again.
So what like marquee lifts would you need to improve to indirectly improve your snatch? Would it be like a deadlift, a front squat, like?
For sure, but you also have to do those things. It would be silly to think that if I just did things around those, that my overhead mobility, that kind of stuff.
But you also have to be able to deadlift more, right?
100%.
So
but in all honesty,
those numbers at now?
I actually think that I can deadlift less and snatch more because I've snatched more frequently because that's like all I've done.
I know you say that. But why would you?
Because I don't deadlift. Like I have not. The first time I did it was this week on Tuesday.
So I guess what I'm saying is, what movements would you need to improve? Like I know you said you need to snatch. It's like me saying, in order for me to run faster, I need to run faster. But there's also movements in the gym that can improve my running, right? So
correct. So like overhead squatting would be a good one to like.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a good. But what I'm saying is like, just to be like a Corbin deadlifting 600 pounds will not necessarily translate him to being able to snatch even 50% of that.
Well, what movements would you do to improve your deadlift besides deadlifting?
Yawn.
Mainly just honestly just building a strong core as far as farmer carries, step ups, pull ups. Lat strength. I use straps anyways. Fuck you guys, whoever has a problem with that. But I don't use a belt. All this is 600 pounds. I want to do beltless. Just because it's a pride thing. But yeah. So my main things for that would be like getting stronger lats. Like I said, step ups, farmer carries, different variations of deadlifts. whether that be block pulls, right?
Yeah.
So working on the top end.
Yeah.
I do a lot of deficit. Right now I'm in a little block where I'm doing a lot of deficit deadlift work.
That's always fun because you get big numbers and you're like, oh, from a deficit, my bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm standing on
Opposite
a 10-pound plate, so
Yeah.
more range of motion.
Yeah.
So then you go down to stand on the floor.
Wait. More range of motion makes you stronger?
Well, it's a change, right? So if I'm standing on an inch to 2 inch lift, and I'm deadlifting a certain X amount of numbers, and then I take that lift away, I should theoretically be able to pull a little bit more because I've been challenging my body a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah.
So like I said, just different variations of deadlifts. I would say is definitely key. Having strong hamstrings from like an RDL, which RDLs for me just light up my spinal erectors like none other.
You've been doing some front squats too, haven't you?
I've been back into my front squats, and hopefully I'm hoping to continue with that, and that should also translate to helping my deadlift out big time.
Yeah.
So
I feel like that maybe even more than a back squat.
Oh, for sure. Well, it's just gonna evolve. Well, I don't know if I want to say for sure, but like it definitely, as far as like
another big lift day.
A big lift, and obviously it's helping my core. I would say I would argue that it helps my core more than a back squat.
Yeah.
Which again is huge. I do a lot of when I do my front squats. I do a lot of pause at the bottom, deep in range.
Mm-hmm.
And when you watch me conventional deadlift, like I use a decent amount of my quads too. So if I'm working on quad strength through front squats, that should absolutely translate to helping that deadlift.
Well, do you want to talk about your? You said some of your personal goals.
I mean, we can, yeah. I mean, in terms of outside of, if I don't think about what's the things that I want to do.
How many bowel movements a day would you like?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. No, I think it'd be nice to like be able to hit the level of like, in terms of like a fitness person, like be viewed as like either a master coach or some sort of person that specializes so much that people seek you out for it, either advice or something. Like, not that I have to have like so many degrees or things, but you have so much experience that you hit this level of like, man, we really need Corbin's opinion or Austin's opinion, kind of being able to. And what I really like is coaching development. So I like to, I like to be coached by other coaches, which I think is something that, we miss here. I feel like I don't get a lot of feedback on how I coach from anyone, essentially, but I like doing that. I like helping other coaches coach. I mean, that's honestly what I would like to do for the rest of my life.
Be a coach's coach?
Yeah, like watch people coach class and then be like, hey, this is what I think we could do. Like, or have small groups of coaches that are new and be like, hey, this is how we, clean and snatch.
You're
and
a teacher at heart.
People have asked me since I've come here, like, well, you're ever going to go back to teaching? And I'm like, well, I still view what I'm doing as teaching. It's
what coach means.
Right.
Teacher.
So I mean, even
You're
if they're
teaching people on a daily basis.
So I really like development. I really like that side of things. I mean, I did that too as a teacher, obviously with high schoolers, but especially when I was a collegiate women's soccer coach and a strength and conditioning coach, you did a lot of that, because the athletes are at like a different level. So I mean, you were talking about like 1% to 2% gains that we're trying to work on,
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff. But I like the idea of developing, like, what if we say things this way? Like, well, why was that good? People think about criticism as being like negative all the time. Like, why was that good, and how can we do that in more places?
Right.
So I think that's one thing that's another goal, is get to a point where I have somebody that can also coach me. That's I have those people. They're just not always in this building. Somebody that's always around me, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I really enjoy learning, and I love learning. I love being around you guys because I've learned so much.
I heard kind of what fills the cup is that you have to have peers that you can have dialogue with. You have to be able to mentor somebody, and you have to have a mentor, and that kind of like completes the circle of education, and like really there can certainly be, if there's those things missing, feel less
and in terms of like lifetime, if we try to make it like specific, I would love to be viewed as like, oh, this is one of our alpha master coaches or something, and maybe one day you'll see me on the videos instructing all the other coaches.
Get a master class.
That kind of stuff, you know.
I got your do seminars and master classes.
I would love to do that, you know.
Yeah. Let's do it. We'll make it in 6 weeks. Awesome. Hey, you heard it here first. Austin's going to be doing a master class.
Make sure you tag David.
And it's going to be on. It's going to be not just on Instagram Live. We're going to do it on Zoom, and we're going to sell it. Okay.
There we go. Yeah.
You're going to sell it.
We're going to sell it to onlycoaches.com.
Because you got to be able to not only do
things.
something you like, you also have to be financially rewarded by those things as well.
Yeah.
It's always good to get paid.
Yeah, that's nice to get paid. Yeah.
I mean, you gotta live, right?
All right. I'll go next.
Oh, I would like to own a farm too, like live out in the country. Yeah.
I would like to go visit your farm.
Yeah. As long as you don't
Maybe
mind.
not a life goal, but like.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you don't mind working while you're there.
Take one of your cows on your farm.
I mean, Corbin would be able to deadlift it back up.
Is this 600 pounds?
Corbin's life goal is to tip one of my cows and then deadlift it back up.
No belt, bitches! I think in order to talk about my goals, it's important to talk about like where I came from. I actually thought that I was going to be a physical therapist, and I got all the way. I was studying exercise science at Michigan State, thinking that I was going to be a physical therapist, and sat in on my girlfriend's exercise physiology class at University of Michigan, and she was studying to be a PT. I was like, ooh, I want to do that. And then transferred to Michigan State, went into the exercise science program, did 2 internships. One was with a physical therapy gentleman, and another was with a personal trainer. And I was like, the physical therapy is way too morbid, too slow.
Yeah.
And the personal trainer was changing people's lives.
For like your energy. Like, yeah.
Yeah, he was going out and doing like nutrition seminars, and I mean, people were like coming up and like hugging him and so thankful, like life-changing experiences, you know, where the physical therapist was like dealing with people's depression and stuff like that. And it's just a different like population.
Yeah.
So I went into personal training and then moved to Chicago, started at a corporate gym, started a company with 2 other gentlemen, left that company, and I thank that gentleman for kind of plucking me out of the corporate world, and he was really my mentor probably for 3 or 4 years, kind of like giving me next level information and kind of introducing me to Paul Chek and Charles Poliquin and the Poliquin group and a lot of those other individuals, and which kind of I really think kind of catapulted my information. During that time, you were talking about having a mentor, and a lot of my mentors were my coaches. They were right in my marathon programs and my tri programs, so I thank them for the education that I have. And then kind of flash forward to almost 2.5 years ago when I sat down with Nick Briney, who was the GM here. I told him, like coming into Lifetime, that I wanted to be able to, and this is where like my new goals kind of come into play, I wanted to go to Lifetime's races, do the races, do a seminar like what you were saying, like be an educator at these races, whether it be like the Leadville Marathon, the Miami Marathon, the Chicago Triathlon, which is, I got an opportunity to write the program, the 12-week program. I'm going to go do it. I'm going to take over their Instagram during that weekend in, what is it? It's almost 8 weeks now. So that things are coming together, you know, it's like kind of coming back around. I said at the beginning of this, like if we talk about these things, like these things are more likely to happen, and we can support each other, and maybe somebody on this will hear it and be like, hey, we can get him out to the Miami Marathon.
Sure. Is there a comment?
Correct.
Oh.
No, anywho.
Maybe not.
You know, like Austin, I think, you know, taking our information and being able to educate others is something I'm very passionate about. And I think that the fact that metabolics are coming back, I haven't really had much time to talk about how important I think metabolics are, like knowing what your zones are, knowing what zone you should be running in and biking in and swimming in are very, very, very beneficial for any kind of endurance athlete, or even an athlete trying to lose body fat, and not going too hard to minimize your strength gains. Another big goal within Lifetime is to actually, they have marathons and triathlons and trail marathons and bike races and gravel bike races, but they don't have a track meet. I would love to host a track meet. And I think that there's a lot of individuals that kind of gravitate towards, oh, I did a 5K, let me do a marathon. Like, I don't know. I don't always think that that's best for people, and I think that showing people that running a 400 can be really freaking cool and very rewarding to say, hey, I ran a 65-second 400, and like what you were saying, you improved your snatch. It took you 3 years to drop 50 or to gain 15 pounds.
Yeah.
Well, it could take someone a whole year to go from a 65 to a 59, to go sub 60 in the 400, and that is so rewarding to be able to do that, you know. So myself is kind of coming into this master's category of 40. I don't think that we should stop doing those things. I think that we should actually lean into some of those shorter distances and things that help with longevity. So, yeah, those are some of my... Oh, I want to be able to write a book too.
Write a book?
Yeah.
Would we be in your book?
You might be able to be models. Might be able to be models.
Oh, it's a picture book?
Yeah.
It's a picture book? Is it
well,
pop up?
it's gonna be some strength exercises. So you can be showing like deadlifts, and so it'll be a book on how to optimally train for running and how to add strength to increase the longevity within the sport.
What would we call this book?
Probably currently sitting on how to run.
How to run.
So those are my current goals.
Corbin, anything you want to end on? Good? Mike, good? Good? Anything else?
You have any you want to talk about from yours?
It's funny you mentioned physical therapy, because that's actually what I was thinking about too when I first got into this field area. You know, I wasn't always into fitness. I was a fat kid in high school with zero confidence. I didn't start finding the weights till I was about 21. Lost a good 65 pounds, and
now he's just the opposite.
Well, yeah, but I had kind of the same concept, same thing you did. You know, I actually started in athletic training. When I started my bachelor's, I started in athletic training, and I did really well in it. You know, I know how to tape ankles and got A's in all my classes, and but it just wasn't.
My degree's in math.
I just didn't have a passion for it, right? Because most everybody else that was doing athletic training were previous athletes that were injured that can't play their sports anymore. So that's why they kind of became athletic trainers. So that's why they had that connection to it and loved it. And not that I couldn't find that connection.
If you got injured,
I should have played a sport.
We can still change that. Go get the hammer.
First off, it would have started with me playing a sport, right? So, So doing that and kind of I changed my degree to exercise science. And even in doing so, I kind of still had this mindset, okay, I want to get this, and then I think I still want to become a physical therapist. And, you know, going through it and everything and starting to get, you know, some experience with training people when I was in my degree program, kind of really I was like, dude, the money set aside, because there is money in personal training as well. I have way more of a connection to changing people's lives, because I want those people to feel the same thing that I got to feel, and the same reward and gratification that I felt. I want to give to others. I tell my clients all the time, I sometimes think I want their results more than they do, because I seriously want them to feel that, right? Because you know, I was the kid at 18, 19 years old who wouldn't take his shirt off at the pool because I wasn't comfortable and I hated the way I looked, you know? And even to this day, I still kind of get a little weird about it, but just little stuff like that.
If you watched our last episode, Mike does not.
It's so empowering, and so that's just what I want to do. It's just I want to empower others to feel those same things, and I'm so thankful of the professor that I had when I went to UCM, because he was only there for a short period of time.
Who is it?
Dr. Mike.
Dr. Mike
Guzertel, Renaissance Periodization.
RP Strength.
RP Strength.
We're not sponsored.
It's hard to I don't feel like I'm stealing people's information, because he wouldn't put it out there if he didn't want people to use it.
But you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly. And just what he preaches and what he talks about I just love it, and I don't want to say I follow it to a T, but I do, and if it's just trying to make stuff. I think in our world we overcomplicate things a lot, and that's what we do as human nature. And I think we sometimes need to slow down. And I've talked about this before, but enjoy the journey, enjoy the process. Yes, should you have some type of we've talked about this before, some type of goal, like date. I call it a soft date. I know you like hard dates, and we all have our difference of opinions, and that's totally cool. But enjoy the process and enjoy the journey, and know it's never ending. And and you should have these. I think you should hold yourself accountable to have these dates on in which you want to achieve certain things. But also don't beat yourself up if you don't get to those, because I think sometimes people can get completely discouraged if they don't. Say they want to lose 10 pounds in 4 weeks and they only lose 8. That's still freaking awesome, dude. Keep it up, enjoy that. I literally had this conversation with my client yesterday. If you don't love the process, it's not going to stick, and you just, yeah. I just want to instill that in other people, and
we have 10 seconds.
We could do a whole nother podcast or video on enjoying the process. That's like a whole rabbit hole.
I love working out, and I want everyone else to too.
Work out. Guys, that's all we got. I got an 11 o'clock client.
Okay.
10:58. Coach of the coffee. Signing off.